We are with Mikhail Gurovich, who is the participating entrepreneur for the fourth annual Boston University Questrom School of Business 50K Sustainability Case Competition. Welcome, and thank you very much for participating.
Good morning.
So, Mikhail, why crypto and why now? So many people have been talking about this for several years. Why do you think it's a relevant topic?
And it's been a relevant topic for a few years now, but only now that a number of other factors are starting to come into play, including obviously a lot of regulatory uncertainty that has been removed, which paves the way for institutional and also publicly traded players to come into the market, which before, has only really been dominated by the private sector.
And what are some of those regulatory changes that has caused you and Dominion Capital to lean into this so hard right now?
I mean, we've leaned into that pretty hard, almost 10 years ago, right? So up until now, we've been just, waiting for, and not just us, but, a lot of other institutional players have been waiting for the regulatory scrutiny to get kind of cleaned up a little bit and for the administration to put a framework in place that allows, other players to participate in a way that's clear, concise, um, and conducive to how the free market should operate.
So we go out of our way at Boston University to avoid talking about religion and politics and business classes. That's not how any of us is trained. However, you mentioned the administration. Do you think that the Trump administration and the Republican administration is helping or hurting crypto right now?
Yeah, definitely want to listen. My job as a business participant is to make decision based on facts. So, all I'm talking about is specifically um, the two laws have been, or rather, the two bills that have been signed into law that establish a clear regulatory framework, again, for participants to participate in kind of the crypto ecosystem, right? Before that, it was sort of ruled by enforcement. So it was really unclear. You could do things, you didn't have to do things, and you didn't know kind of what was going to happen. So there was a lot of opaqueness to potential kind of fallout from any kind of actions that could be taking place. Now at least there's a clear framework. So I think that's what's been driving a lot of recent adoption, specifically in the public sector. But this has been, if we go back, 10 years back, this has been in development for a while. And I think one of the major drivers, if we kind of just switch gears a little bit, the most recent stuff has been due to the regulatory cleanup, right? But before that, there has been a massive momentum, again, for almost a decade at this point, starting from Bitcoin, and that's what I'd like to concentrate on. And but a lot of it has been driven, I think, by the debasement of our national currency, which is the U.S. dollar, among obviously other currencies as well. But really, the dollar has been the kind of de facto currency of the world for a while, due to various policies. And even though it's one of the strongest currencies, as a U.S. citizen, there is a lot of concern about the loss of purchasing power of the dollar that has been happening. And, in my mind, and I've been kind of thinking about it for a really long time now, for many years, why, and everyone, you ask 1,000 people, you're going to get 1,000 different answers probably. But, why Bitcoin? Why is it relevant now? And, again, I think the biggest driver, there are many, but the biggest one is really a hedge against the devaluation of the dollar. But unlike gold, obviously it's a lot easier to transport. You can divide it into much smaller increments called satoshis, and there's other various factors that are in play.
So it's
But
interesting that you said you've been thinking about this for a year, for 10 years. 10 years ago, everybody was talking about blockchain, but nobody could really explain what blockchain is. How do you make money from Bitcoin?
um, it's not about as much as making money, and I think that's what gets lost in translation, because a lot of people get excited, and there's a lot of deviation from Bitcoin into other cryptocurrencies, and this is exactly why I mentioned specifically Bitcoin. So I want to make the distinction, right? I'm a huge believer in Bitcoin. I love the blockchain technology, and I think there's a lot of other benefits that it can bring together. For example, stable currencies, stable coins, and among other contributions to society. But the biggest one is really Bitcoin itself. That gives freedom to people that are unbanked or debanked, and it's really the only asset on the planet that can never be taken away from you. So, in US we have obviously a number of safety cushions that we we can take advantage of here. But in many other countries, not only do you have rampant inflation like we've seen in Turkey, we've seen in Argentina before Milei, we've seen in so many other countries, um, but also it's something that can never be taken away from you, unlike your bank account or even your property that could be seized, right? So it gives financial liberty and freedom to so many people across the whole world, and I think that specific thing gets lost among sort of the enthusiasm that can prevail. But to go back to your kind of previous question, is what is blockchain? I mean, bro, blockchain is just a decentralized Excel spreadsheet, database that keeps track of things, and Bitcoin just happens to be really, really good at it. It does one thing and it does it well. Obviously, there is always room for improvement, and it continues to get improved. But here we are, 10 years down the line, almost after its inception. Well, I guess 11 years, and I'm very excited to see where it's going to go from here.
This is the fourth annual 50K sustainability case competition. The first year we did sustainable recycling. Second year we did sustainable fashion. The third year we did sustainable energy. How are you able to justify the use of Bitcoin as part of a sustainability case competition?
Absolutely, it's such a great question. I'm glad you asked it. The reason why is because one of the most important sustainable aspects of our society that we need to focus on, especially in this day and age, is obviously our national currency. And there's a huge concern with the budget deficits of trillions of dollars, the ballooning debt what do we have, it's over 35 trillion now in United States. My hope is that Bitcoin is going to incentivize in a probably in a more forceful way than a lot of people want or expect, the Congress to become more fiscally responsible and get its act together. I mean, that is the ultimate, I think, purpose of Bitcoin, is to make our government more fiscally responsible because it owes it to the people. I mean, if you go back 5 years ago, the purchasing dollar power of your dollar over the last 5 years has been eroded by about 20%. It's completely unsustainable, the path that we're on as a country. So my hope is that Bitcoin is going to fix that.
Mikhail, you and I have known each other for several years, and when we first met one another, we joked that the prize for any case competition should be through Bitcoin as opposed to through cash or something else. Assuming that a team snapped its fingers and won and received some denomination of dollars in Bitcoin, how does the average person actually cash out of that?
So that's another really good question. You know, the so actually, before I answer that, there is a good idea. We should make the price in Bitcoin. I like that. However, to answer your question, there's that is the thing. When you're going to want to sell Bitcoin, you're not going to need to.
Mikhail, thank you very much. We look forward to your participation as the participating entrepreneur for the fourth annual Boston University Questrom School of Business 50K Sustainability Case Competition.
Always a pleasure.